Welcome, everybody. Let's get this party started. Thank you for being here for our 35th anniversary celebration, our awards ceremony, and happy hour. It's been quite a day. My day started this morning when I came down to my home office and I turned on my computer, and my computer was not going to work. If you have a Mac, you know what the little spinning beach ball is, and that's all I had for about an hour. And fortunately, about 20 minutes before I was supposed to go on, it cleared up and we were able to go from there. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of a computer server crash this afternoon, so one of our programs is recorded but wasn't seen. But those things happen. But I hope your day has been good. As I predicted, the programming today was absolutely fabulous. Some of the absolute best of the best. And so I hope everybody has had a good and very educational day. So thanks for joining us tonight for our happy hour, our awards ceremony. We will be honoring two legends, two giants of NELA's history, Alice Ballard and Rick Seymour tonight. And I look forward to that coming up in just a little bit. I did want to give a shout out of thanks to Dundon Advisors, LLC, which is our sponsor for the awards ceremony and happy hour tonight. We are very blessed to have strong sponsorship, and we really appreciate Dundon Advisors' support of us tonight. This is a happy hour, so if you don't already have a drink in hand, I hope you will go and get one. I got this in the mail today. I hope everyone has their 35th anniversary NELA coaster. There are a couple of libations that we have created, the NELA Legal Aid and the Wage and Sour, which is non-alcoholic. Those recipes, I think, are in the chat room. There's a link to the recipes, so please help yourselves through the course of the night. So we'll get on to our program. I want to start by introducing NELA's treasurer, Kathy Butler from Houston, Texas. She is actually our chief financial officer. I think when I was treasurer, that's what I called myself. So Kathy has an announcement about NELA's 35th anniversary campaign. So Kathy, take it away.
Thank you, Wade. So first, a toast to everyone. Greetings from Texas, where we are acutely concerned about our liberty and not having to wear masks, even as the coronavirus cases go through the roof. So that's something special about us. I've been thinking a lot about NELA and why I am so committed to NELA. And I realize it kind of started on an inauspicious note, which is that I always believe I should take whatever kind of help I can get because I need it. And also, for those of you who don't know, the motto of my firm, Butler and Harris, is two half-wits make a whole wit. So, our idea is, you need to go get help. So I started kind of from that mode, trolling around, seeing what I could find. But the reality is, if you get involved in NELA, if you support NELA, NELA supports the hell out of you. And I remember the first convention I went to in 1992. Yes, that gray hair is a representation that I've been around for a long time. How much I got out of NELA and how many lifelong relationships I have made. For example, Herb Eisenberg, Dave Cashton, good friends that I never would have known except for NELA. And I've got, at some point, I joined the board thanks to Dave prodding me. And that was even better because it's such a group. It's such a wonderful group, and the staff is amazing. So at this point, you know, I have to tell you that on behalf of the board, and I want to tell you, we need to raise money for our 35th anniversary fund. It's hard to believe NELA's been around that long, but it has. So what are we looking for the money for? We need this money because we need to support our amicus work. With the kind of judges that have been installed in the last 4 years, we need to have our voice heard. Judicial nominations, we're working hard on that, and frankly, we have been able to strike some of them, but we're very much getting ready for, knock on wood, a change of administrations when we can move forward. And then the legislative and public policy things that we do. And I know Linda Correa is just chomping at the bit for a new Senate so that we can really get out there and make a difference. All of this costs money. We are lucky that we have raised so much so far. So we started off with a goal of $310,000. At this point, we've got about $106,000 in the bank. The board has all pledged, and we are now asking you to pledge. It's easy to do. If you go to the homepage for the convention, there's you can click on 35th anniversary fund and you can go make a donation. It also may be true that I think Leah was going to put a link actually in the chat feature so that you could easily go and make a donation. And obviously credit cards are accepted. You don't have to pay today. You can pay it out. It's beautiful that way. But I want to recognize right now some of the firms that have dug deep to help us out so far. And I would ask to share that on the screen so everybody can see that. We start out with the big dogs, Sue Ellen Eisenberg and Associates, Nichols Castor, and Passman and Kaplan. Then we get to the next group, Stephen R. Bruce Law Offices and Consul Mariachi Law. Then the President's Cabinet, Alexander Krakow and Glick, California Employment Lawyers Association, Cohen Milstein Sellers and Toll, Colorado Pila, Correa and Puth, Freaking Myers and Rule. Got to take off my glasses here. Garrison, Levin Epstein, Fitzgerald, and of course Parati, Goldstein, Morgan, Dedarian and Ho, Haynes and Haynes, Jim and Joellen Castor. Hey, didn't we hear about them earlier? Lichtenstein and Lise Riordan, Mawila, NELA, Illinois, NELA, New Jersey, and Ritz Clark and Ben Asher. Your name can also be in lights. What we need from you is we need you to go and do whatever kind of donation you can afford. We recognize not everybody can do $10,000, $20,000, whatever, but maybe you can do 1,000. Maybe you can do 2,000. Maybe you've gotten a lot of cases this year because of coronavirus and you've made a difference. Anyway, we ask that you now join us. Obviously, this is going to be up throughout the convention, but this whole program goes until October. So if you don't dig deep now, you will be hearing from one of us, just so you know. Anyway, thank you for listening, and cheers.
All right. Thank you, Kathy Butler.
Here.
It is important, and we have a DC office. Ashley Westby and Laura Flegel are there, and as I said this morning, we are in Passman and Kaplan's office space there for our Washington office. And this fundraiser, which is the 35th anniversary campaign, really supports that office. And we really cannot do the things that we do in the Washington office, the amicus program, the judicial nominations program. We can't do it without your support. And so I'm hopeful that you will support us. My great thanks to all who have already supported us, either through a contribution or a pledge. As my granddaddy used to say, we are much obliged. I want to take a moment to acknowledge 3 of our board members who will be stepping away from the board this year. We have our summer board meeting this Saturday, and so this will be the end of their terms. First, John Beasley from Georgia, who's been on the board since 2017. He was my board buddy when he joined. He has decided not to run again this year, and I just want him to know that we very much appreciate his service, along with Greg Rich from St. Louis, who's been on the board since 2016. I hope Greg is with us tonight. I can't see the names of who's here. Greg, unfortunately, will be traveling for vacation Saturday, won't be able to join us for his last board meeting, but we appreciate his service as well. And finally, Charlotte Fishman in the Bay Area in California. Charlotte joined the board the same year I did in 2011, so I guess we're classmates in that regard. And she's had a long and very distinguished term of service on the board. All 3 of them, John and Greg and Charlotte, have been great board members. Their contributions have been very valuable, and they are and very much appreciated. So my great thanks to John and to Greg and to Charlotte. We will be sending them a little token of our appreciation in the mail, so you'll get that at some point after the convention. We're sorry, as we all wish we were here together in person so that we could shake your hands or give you a hug and give you a little memento in person, but and let the audience give you a round of applause. But I'll give you a round of applause myself, so thank you very much. I'd also like to acknowledge our interim executive director, Karen Mayoki. I spoke about her this morning, stealing Paul Tobias's line, the best damn interim executive director in the world. But of particular note, Karen has been with NELA for 20 years. And, for those of us who have never worked in one place for 20 years, that is quite an accomplishment. So she, I just want to thank her for all that she's done over 2 decades, and in particular, all that she's done in this last year serving as our interim executive director. As I said this morning, these are, we are in uncertain, uncharted seas, and she has certainly been a steady hand at our helm, and we are all very much indebted to her for her service. We'll be sending her a little token of our appreciation in the mail, and it will read, "With deepest gratitude for your extraordinary commitment to NELA, the Institute, and workers' rights. Thank you for 20 years of dedicated service, July 2020." So, here, Karen, thank you very much. And now you have the floor.
Well, thank you, Wade. I was only, I think, 9 when I started at NELA, so it's been a real coming of age story for me. But time does fly when you're having fun, and there's a whole group of us on staff who have reached milestones this year. So I'm very pleased to acknowledge Laura Flagel. I know you're out there, NELA's Legislative and Public Policy Director and the Institute's Director of Law and Policy. She has now been with us for 5 years. And to Laura, your virtual token of gratitude reads, Laura M. Flagel, in recognition of your 5th anniversary and extraordinary contributions to advancing equality and justice in the American workplace, July 2020. Thank you so much for 5 years of hard work, doesn't even cover it, but it's great to have you on the team. Leah Hofkin, our Director of Development for both NELA and the Institute, is celebrating a decade this year. She has been with us for 10 years. And her award reads, Leah A. Hofkin, with gratitude on your 10th anniversary of dedicated service to NELA, the Institute, and the cause of workers' rights, July 2020. Thank you so much for your continued hard work and everything you've done for NELA and the Institute for a whole decade, Leah. And I am joined in the 2 days. He was probably 12 when he started at NELA, so he was a little bit older than I am. But Pedro Valverde has also been with NELA and the Institute for 20 years. And his award reads, Pedro A. Valverde, with deepest gratitude for your extraordinary commitment to NELA, the Institute, and workers' rights. Thank you for 20 years of dedicated service, July 2020. So thank you all, my friends and colleagues. I think in addition to the years of service they've put in, I think it's a real testament to NELA as an organization and the Institute later on that folks want to be here and we want to work hard and we want to support this community because it supports us. So thank you all very much. I am very pleased to hand the floor over to Scott Pollins, who is a NELA board member and also a longtime past president of the Eastern Pennsylvania affiliate of NELA, and he's going to introduce our first honoree, Alice Ballard. Scott?
Thank you, Karen. And for those of you in the Eastern time zone, good evening. To everyone else, good afternoon. I first met Alice Ballard about 15 years ago in the early years of my being an employee rights lawyer. I remember being nervous and excited. Nervous to meet such a legal legend and excited to talk shop and learn everything I could from her. Fast forward to the summer of 2020, perhaps the most unusual summer all of us will ever experience. I only have a few minutes to share with you about Alice, so I'll get right to it. Many of you listening and watching have met Alice or know of her. Let me tell everyone who she is for all of us and why she deserves to be honored tonight by NELA. I'll use the letters of her first name to paint a picture of who Alice Ballard is. A is for advocate. Ask any employment lawyer in the Philadelphia area, who's the top employee rights lawyer? And Alice's name will be the first or one of the first names they say. Heck, you could probably ask any employment lawyer in the country that question, and Alice would make the short list. She's been an employment and civil rights lawyer for over a quarter of a century. Just in the past several years, she was part of a legal team that challenged Pennsylvania's gerrymandering of federal congressional districts. Her team won, and deserving and fair-minded legislators became congressional representatives that would not have without her hard work. L is for leadership. With dual college and law school degrees from Harvard, it's no surprise that Alice is a thought leader. She was an integral member of the American Law Institute's publication of the most recent restatement on employment law. I is for inspiring. Alice inspired me and many other up-and-coming employee rights lawyers in the Philadelphia area. In many ways, she is probably unaware of. One simple but significant example of Alice's inspiration is how I learned to start an email with "Hi, John," or "Hi, Jane." I saw that Alice did that, and I realized that by simply saying hi at the start of an email, You created a connection through a communication medium that's often difficult to accomplish true connection with. C is for caring. Alice is approachable and generous and will make you feel important and worthy. I remember a few years ago, I was struggling with how to handle a particular case. I had a high-profile client and I was at a turning point in the case. I didn't know what to do, so I called Alice. She spoke with me during the evening and gave me the clarity and confidence I needed to steer my client's case to a successful outcome. And finally, E is for excellent. Alice is an excellent lawyer, friend, mother, and colleague. If you're a client of hers, you'll receive excellent service. If you're working with her, you'll be treated to excellent and insightful discussions about strategy and the law. If you're her friend, you'll be grateful for her excellent heart. So please join me in honoring Alice Ballard. Got to unmute yourself, Alice, so we can hear you.
Thank you, Scott. And especially thank you for being a member of the convention committee and having to organize this whole convention twice. And thank you, Wade and Kathy and everybody else who's on the board. And I do want to give a special shout out to our employees, our staff, Alicia, Ashley, Karen, Laura, Leah, Maria, and Pedro. What a group. I mean, you guys are so great. And of course, Matt. So I want to just take the 2 minutes that Leah said I could have to tell you why I like this practice. Aside from being the good guys, which we all like, I like the fact that it ties us to American history and to the great, crises, disasters, monumentally disastrous events of American history, and the statutes that came out of them that we're still enforcing today. We're keeping that history alive, and we are remembering that sometimes decent things can come out of the ashes of a monumental national disaster. So, case in point, Section 1981, Civil Rights Act of 1866, passed 1 year after the end of the Civil War, announced that these are the rights of citizenship. Great. What did we have to do to get there? Our ancestors had to get through the worst, the most monumental, the most disastrous part of American history, slavery and the Civil War. 6 million enslaved lives taken, ruined, 600,000 soldiers sacrificed. But out of it comes the one little piece of Section 1981 that we work with day in, day out. 156 years later, we are standing in front of juries and judges and asking them to safeguard that right, that all people shall have the same right to make and enforce contracts as white people. Here we are, 156 years later, out of the ashes of the Civil War and slavery. So, case in point number 2, Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938, probably the most important piece of legislation to come out of the New Deal, except for Social Security. And it gave us, the minimum wage, the 44-hour work week, and overtime. So what did we have to go through to get there? The Great Depression, child malnutrition, 2 million people homeless, 15 million people jobless, the economy in collapse. But out of it comes the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938. And 80 years later, here we are trying to get wages for factory workers for the time they spend donning and doffing, and for those assistant managers, so-called, who stand behind counters and wait on us hour after hour after hour for some paltry little salary. This is what has come out of the ashes of the Great Depression. This is what we're working on. This is what we're doing. This is what we're keeping alive. And of course, Title VII, sort of example number 3 that we all know inside and out. Look at what we had to go through to get there. TV images of police blasting fire hoses at teenagers, burning churches, little girls perishing, Martin Luther King bringing 250,000 people to Washington, D.C. in the March for Jobs and Freedom. And then President Kennedy getting shot dead on national television in an open car as he waved to the people. So Title VII is a tribute to this event. The country changed. Everybody who remembers it remembers how the country changed. And Title VII is a tribute to those activists, to Dr. King, to Lyndon Johnson, and to President Kennedy, the president who gave us the feeling, the hope that the country could be unified. So this is our legacy, and we're really lucky to have it. And NELA helps us be better lawyers in furtherance of, protecting and honoring that legacy. I often say that one of the nice things about NELA is, as an organization, every member of NELA has an interest in every other member's success. That's a great thing. So we need to take advantage of that. We need to learn from each other. We need to go to seminars. We need to give seminars. We need to do the best we can to become good lawyers. We need to not give up when we lose. Stick with it, work hard, and whatever you do, don't forget the past. I love you all.
Thank you so much, Alice. We appreciate yes. Thank you for your words, but also your dedication and your deeds. I am pleased to turn it over to Linda Correa now, NELA's Vice President and past President of the Metropolitan Washington Employment Lawyers Association, to introduce our next honoree, Rick Seymour. Linda?
Thank you, Karen. It's a tough act to follow, but I'm going to try. So NELA is also recognizing another one of our superstars, Rick Seymour, for his distinguished service and extraordinary contributions to our community. And it's fitting that NELA is recognizing Rick on our 35th anniversary. One of NELA's founding principles is the idea that we are more powerful and more effective as advocates for workers' rights if we work together, if we commit to helping each other seek justice for our clients and improve the lives of America's workers. Rick exemplifies NELA's founding vision of a network of lawyers who freely assist their colleagues. We've all benefited from Rick's encyclopedic knowledge of employment law, and we all know this. Anyone who's ever visited the NELA Exchange has benefited from Rick's dedication, knowledge, and experience. He's one of the most frequent and reliable posters on the Exchange. Believe it or not, more than 4,600 posts since 2012. He generously gives helpful advice and shares his deep knowledge of employment law. Rick's generosity with his time to help all of us and our clients is well known to those of us who have looked forward to his presentations at this convention every year, or just called him to pick his brain about an issue. He's always there. If this is your first convention or your 30th, you'll soon benefit from Rick's service to our community. We close each session with our most popular panel, Significant Developments in Employment Law, which Rick presents each year along with Professor Eric Schnapper. Rick is the person who tells us each year what pearls and perils have come to us from courts around the country since our last convention. NELA members consistently say that this presentation and Rick's PowerPoint are worth the price of convention registration alone. But let me tell you a little bit more about Rick. Rick has been a civil rights lawyer for more than 50 years. Now, I wish I could say that that means that he's been practicing law longer than I've been alive, but sadly that's not true. The truth is, Rick has had a big part in helping shape how our civil rights laws have been enforced case by case, advocate by advocate. Rick just says helping people get justice seems a worthwhile line of work. But let me tell you some of the ways that Rick has helped workers get justice in his career so far. He began his career at the U.S. Commission on Human Rights in 1968. He went on to work at Marion Wright Edelman's Washington Research Project, which later became the Children's Defense Fund. And from 1977 to 2001, he directed the Government Discrimination Project and then the Employment Discrimination Project at the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. And during that period, he was involved in the majority of Supreme Court cases involving employment discrimination. Rick was a member of the drafting committee of the Leadership Conference on Civil Rights that helped write the Civil Rights Act of 1991. Rick opened his own law practice many years ago here in Washington, D.C., and continues to be a valuable guide and source of nuggets of wisdom that help us all in our daily practices. Rick is one of our true giants who took on discrimination in the Deep South during very difficult years. And there is so much that we continue to learn from him during these difficult times. I've known Rick for more than 20 years. Here in Washington, D.C., he's always been one of those wonderful, more experienced lawyers who makes a point of bringing along and inspiring newer NELA lawyers to disagree with their opponents with skill and passion without being disagreeable. These are qualities we need a lot of these days. When I spoke to Rick about this presentation, he said his only regret was that we could not knock back a cocktail afterwards. So I decided I should take care of that, even if through our virtual medium. So Rick, I'm raising a glass to you. You've been an indispensable and outstanding member of our community. It's my sincere pleasure and privilege to extend on behalf of all of us our appreciation for your countless contributions to NELA lawyers and the workers of America. You've helped to make NELA the organization it is today, and I'm so proud to fight for justice alongside you. The text of the award that we're sending to Rick says, Richard T. Seymour, with deepest gratitude for your distinguished service to the NELA community and extraordinary contributions to advancing equality and justice in the American workplace, community, learning, excellence. July 8, 2020. Thank you.
Thank you. There are just a couple of thoughts that I have. One of the things that has inspired me from the beginning are the clients that we have. Not all clients, obviously, but some. You know, I started out when I was a law student in Louisiana, signing people up for school desegregation cases. And we had to tell them what was likely to happen. If they worked for a white person, they're going to lose their jobs. The Klan was going to come and visit them and burn a cross on their front lawn. There are going to be physical threats. They're going to have to guard their children. This is the last year in which, in Louisiana at any rate, people's houses were routinely fired into by drive-by members of the Klan, often in conjunction with the local sheriff's office or police department. That all stopped that year because African Americans got armed. A lot of them came back from the Vietnam War, and it became clear, they formed community pros, it became clear that unifying, they were not going to be pushovers, they were not going to be victims of the same kinds of things that happened before. And with virtually no violence, that system of repression just ended overnight because they were able to defend themselves. So their courage is sort of a guiding light for everything that I've done since then. I think we as lawyers have an unmatched privilege among the American population of being able to help people like that. And being able to help people like that is what life is all about. A lot of times change comes only at moments of crisis. I don't know whether it's true, but I've always heard that the Chinese ideograph for crisis is a mixture of the two ideographs for danger and opportunity. That's our present situation. We have these forces in the country that are trying to roll us back towards the most blatant kinds of racism, racial discrimination, white supremacy, and so forth. And there's a reaction and a revulsion among many people. And every time we stand before a court, every time we give a public speech, every time we stand before a jury and get a verdict for one of our clients, every time we appeal to justice, we help to roll that tide back. And the history of this country has been that those rolling that tide back prevail. But we only prevail with big moments, big movements in our direction when we're coming up against that kind of opposition that revolts decent, fair-minded people. And this is such a time, and I think what we're doing now is just terribly, terribly important. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick, and thank you, Alice. You all are very special advocates, and we owe both of you a great debt of gratitude. And now, truly from the sublime to the ridiculous, I was asked to make a toast, and so I wrote one about an hour ago. So I want everybody to grab their glass, please, of whatever it is inside. To Alice Ballard and Rick Seymour, we make this toast. About these NELA giants, we love to boast. And also to NELA for its 35th anniversary bash. At least in '85, we didn't have to worry about a server crash. So down the hatch, here's mud in your eye. In this time of pandemic, let's all laugh, not cry. Cheers.